Hi everyone, it's Tuesday, so it's time for Tuesday Talks. So if you don't know me personally, my name is Shalina of Fiery Maple Holistic Healing, and every Tuesday I do a quick little video about something that's on my mind that has to do with health and wellness. I missed last week because I was in Vegas, which was so much fun. In fact, I have a recommendation for you because if you know me personally, I don't gamble. I'm not into gambling. I've never gambled. I make no judgment, or at least I try not to, about people, who want to spend their money in the way they see fit. I guess nothing is wrong with it in moderation, but it's not for me. And I also don't really drink. So what the heck was I doing in Vegas? Well, I wandered around looking at all the lights and all the sparkly things, which is fun. But also I got to spend a lot of time in nature. So that's my suggestion. There is a small town community called Summerlin, Summerlin. That is about 20 minutes from the Strip. Sorry, I'm a Midwestern person, Michigan specifically, so we say everything in time instead of distance. So I don't know how many miles. Let's say 12, 15, around 15 miles off of the Strip. This little community called Summerlin, and then right outside of that is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous natural area. So it's called Red Rock Canyon, and there's a great state park there. There's several parks. There is a national conservation area park. It's beautiful. Beautiful desert landscape. You can go hike. So many hiking trails. Plenty of hiking trails. Some you have to pay, but most are just like free. And bouldering opportunity. So I had so much time. I had so much fun. If you ever go to Vegas and you don't want to just gamble, then definitely consider getting yourself to Red Rock Canyon. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. Okay, so anyway, that was my Vegas trip. Now, this Tuesday Talk is going to be completely different than typical because it has nothing to do with health and wellness. In fact, I'm also started a series that I'm going to be launching about books that I just love. So that's I post those on a YouTube channel, and I'll put the link to it. And it's called Radical Truth Book Club. And one of the books that I'm going to do a full review on, this one's just going to be a mini review, is called In the Shadow of the Empress by Nancy Gladstone. This is the book. I read it, I think, last year, and I went back and I got it from the library recently because I knew I wanted to include it for my book club reviews, and I think I'm going to buy it. So I'm a huge media junkie. I really love books. I kind of stopped reading books, I would say, several years ago. I don't know. I just spent too much time reading the internet. But now I'm like back to books because there's just so much information in books that you just can't cram into even a long form article. And I think that's something that we need to get back to, is reading more books, because I'm telling you, anything you ever want to know about human nature, about history, about how the world really works, it's all in the books. It's in the books. You'll be surprised what you can learn from books. So anyway, In the Shadow of the Empress. It's about this lady. Her name is Maria Theresa. It says, the defiant lives of Maria Theresa, mother of Marie Antoinette and her daughters. So Maria Theresa was the first and only empress of the Austrian Empire. She's the only woman to ever inherit it and to rule it. Her reign was in the early 1800s, I believe. So, I should know this. I read the book. There's so much great tidbits in this book about her. So she was a sovereign of the Austrian Empire, which was the Habsburg family. And that family is just like a very fascinating family. Can't get into that. But anyway, her empire, when she ruled, the Austrian Empire stretched all the way into like Hungary and what's considered Bohemia and even parts of Italy. So it was a vast empire. She did the best job that she could, considering that her father left the empire kind of in, although I don't know if it was completely his fault. But when she inherited, it was like in financial ruin. She was on the cusp of war with like multiple countries. Mostly they're all related, so it really doesn't make any sense, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. And she had completely depleted coffers, but from all accounts she was like a wonderful sovereign. She did the best she could with what she was handed. And one thing, so there's two tidbits I want to talk about in this video. One, I found it very interesting that she is one of the only rulers that they've ever known to have hired a person as part of her small council that their only job was to critique her job performance, because she was determined to do a good job, and she knew as a monarch that most time you can't ever really get the truth out of people. They're too scared to tell you how you're really doing. And it's funny because I remember mentioning this to someone, I think it was one of my CEOs. I don't remember which one it was. And it wasn't any sort of judgment. It was just an observation. Is that so many times leaders say it's hard at the top because no one tells them the truth. No one really tells them what they need to know. No one gives them the information. And I kind of think that's a cop out. Now, I haven't ran some vast companies, so, take my observation with a grain of salt. But I still think it's a cop out, because this is what leaders need to understand. And I think it's better that you understand it before you get to be a leader, because then you can hear it better. Is leaders are being told things all the time. They just don't listen. So if you're a leader, no one's going to pop up and say, my goodness, you did that really terribly. That was bad. That was not the best. I think that's, they're not going to say that. They say general observations. They say, I suggest this, or I recommend that, or if it was my decision. No one's going to pull you aside when they're CEO to say, you suck at that. That was wrong. Do better. They're going to gently, nicely say things and give you the information that you need. And it's up to you to determine and to listen to be able to hear it. Anyway, that's an aside. The main thing was, I really loved that she hired someone to critique her performance, to make sure that she always at least had one person who was going to tell her the truth about her reign and how she was doing. So the other thing, one of the most fascinating tidbits to me was, let's see, I'm going to find the exact page. On page 146, and it was talking a little bit how she had a difficult relationship with her heir, her firstborn son. His name was Joseph. And how he was more than just like a rebellious teenager. He had completely different ideals than her. And in fact, he was very enamored with the Enlightenment movement. So the Enlightenment movement swept through Europe in late 1700s. And is supposedly, while now we live in a world that is based more on science and logic and reasoning instead of religion. Supposedly. Anywho. It was in a direct conflict, this mentality that the final word on things was with science and not religion, with the Catholic Church. Now, I find it very interesting. Joseph, her heir, supported the Enlightenment and supported the leader of the Enlightenment. But I just thought this was such a good thing to just see written down. So it says that the Enlightenment movement was considered one of the most powerful intellectual movements ever to sweep across the soul of Europe. And their leader was a man named Denis Diderot. I think I pronounced that right. And it was under his direction that these daring, if somewhat threadbare scholars and philosophers toiled away at a new incendiary and dangerously subversive weapon called, do you know what dangerous weapon they were slaving away over? I want you to guess. An encyclopedia. That was the dangerous weapon. An encyclopedia. An encyclopedia. The Catholic Church was against it. The Jesuits were definitely against it. And the Jesuits, just another aside. You can learn so much from the Jesuits. The Jesuits are the ones that said, if you give me a child till they're 7, I'll show you the man. In other words, let me mold that kid while his brain is still forming, and I've got him forever. I've got them forever. I've permanently altered something about them that they can never completely root out. Not even going to talk about that. Another video for another day. But anyway, the encyclopedia. And Maria Theresa, even though I loved her, I love this book about her, I think she did a great job as a sovereign, she banned the encyclopedia. She banned it in her realm, the encyclopedia. And I think this is such an important lesson for us even today. Nothing has changed. The reason why they were against the encyclopedia, because it was a vast amount of knowledge and information delivered to the common man. You didn't need to go to a fancy school anymore. You didn't need to be in the know. You didn't need to be an aristocrat with a giant personal library to know things. And so it was a threat to the powers that be. Knowledge, information was a threat to the powers that be. Nothing has changed. Even though it's 200 years later. Good Lord, I need to be better at my math. Circa 2022, it's still the same. The powers that be find it threatening for people to have accurate information and knowledge. And that is why they are constantly trying to subvert conversation and have censorship. Not just in the public square, which is social media, but also in schools, just everywhere. So anyway, love this book. Highly recommend it. When I do the full review, I will link that in the comment section. Did you guys have encyclopedias growing up? Do people still use encyclopedias? I don't know. Anyway, that's all I have to say in this matter. Today's Tuesday Talks. I suggest this book. I'll see you next week. Bye.